rescued. I will give 1 point to you, Bill. You're right. We should not have honored the man until we were sure of all the facts. But to dishonor the man, not knowing all the facts, is just as obscene. Sir O'Reilly.
Here's the fact that much as I love the American people, they sometimes get it wrong. They elected Barack Obama, after all, not once but twice. But here's the last point. I made a two-part proposition. Number one, no soldier left behind. Second part of the proposition was no traitor, no deserter left unpunished. You and I had a real disagreement over number two. You said of Bergdahl that if he's found guilty, you would give him a pass. He suffered enough. How about doing a poll on that, Bill?
Well, I didn't say I would give him a pass. Let's be accurate. I said there should be mercy involved, and here's why. And I can back it up.
You said you would let him.
I can back it. No, I said mercy should be shown. I wouldn't.
Well, the reason I played that audio is I will put a final touch on my opinion here. The Bo Bergdahl situation is to show that Mr. O'Reilly will never admit when he's wrong, will never admit to having made statements that he made on his own show, as I will show you with the second audio you will hear, as I'll give Charles Krottenheimer his due on this. He's right. It was Mr. O'Reilly saying he would give Mr. Bergdahl a pass, that he suffered enough. We'll get to that here in a second. The poll they're referring to by is another wonderful Fox News poll. They always have that word scientific poll on the bottom of the screen when they give these polls. I think there might be some legality, protection be involved with that one, maybe, because some of these polls just don't, no way. In hindsight, we have released 5 Taliban prisoners for Bo Bergdahl, and his poll of I'm almost certainly 100% Fox viewers and Republicans, 98% said no. 2% said yes. I'm sure they found those 2% somewhere deep in the dark caverns of progressives who were dying to get their word in and couldn't get through to the poll. Anyways, again, the point I'm making here is that Mr. O'Reilly never retracts, even when he's on his own show, as you will now hear what he said, as Mr. Krottenheimer explained to you, and would not be allowed to explain any further after O'Reilly, as usual, interrupts. Because the point you're making, I don't like that.
It's no hassle. But all I'm saying, they're gonna get away. I'm just. Knock. Who's there? Look, let me tell you a little story about a man named Even before you start, that was a preemptive Just know I have a whole bag of with your name on it.
If Sergeant Bergdahl is convicted, I would not send him to prison. I think we have to show some mercy here, because the guy has suffered. He did cause his own demise, but he has suffered greatly. No honorable anything, no back pay, but no vengeance either. And that's the memo. Now for the top story tonight, reaction joining us from Washington, the now world-famous Charles Krottenheimer. Where am I going wrong here, Charles?
Well, it's not a question of vengeance, it's a question of justice. I think there are two distinct issues here. One is, do you bring everyone back if you can? And second, if someone has shown all evidence of desertion, or as the other charge says, misbehavior in the face of the enemy, you must put them on trial. You must come to a conclusion. You must allow military justice to play itself out. Unlike what you were suggesting, here's the other place you went wrong.
5 Taliban commanders going to be released in a few weeks are going to go back and kill Americans. That's what they're going to do. So some Americans are going to lose their lives because these guys are back in the field. That alone overrides getting the sergeant, who the president had to know had a dubious resume. Because before you make any deal at that level, you got to do your due diligence. All right? So not only did they foul up who Bo Bergdahl was, because I don't think they even knew, and that shows an incredible level of incompetence. But they made a deal that's going to be that, number one, the evidence shows right now that U.S. soldiers were killed searching for the man. All right? That's the most serious situation. Number two, other Americans are going to be killed because you make the deal. So you got to weigh that as commander-in-chief. You can't put U.S. troops in harm's way on a theoretical, even though you get the guy back. Last word.
Last word is this. We release people from Guantanamo every week, every month, without anything in return. And we know that a third of them return to kill Americans if they can. The other thing is we always make trades, and we always know that there is a price to pay. But the reason that you have the principle of getting back every man is because so every American who goes into battle knows that the country will stay with him and have his back. Even someone who might be a deserter, but the deserter has to know that he's not going to get a pass, he will be on trial, and he could spend the rest of his life in the brig.
I wouldn't do that, but I certainly, everybody will know what happened there, because the guy's devastated anyway. It doesn't do any good to throw him in jail. He's devastated. His whole life is pretty much over.
Well, that makes you wrong on both counts.
All right. Well, we'll let the folks decide, Charles. We'll see.
Sure.
It's very interesting.
Have a poll. Put it to a poll and see which way it goes.
We'll do that. We'll put it to a poll. We'll do the poll tomorrow after we read the mail. Now we're going to hold Charles over against...
Show me the money.
Anyway, that's the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope I made some valid points that you can chew on. And hopefully, as I said, get back to me on. I do this show because I think we need a counterbalance to a lot of the crap you hear on the news that is biased and paid for by corporate business. The corporate businesses I've mentioned earlier in the show now being seemingly more concerned with the bottom dollar than ever before, even though they still make buku bucks. And the workers make the same and are gradually given raises and promotions. Well, looks like it's going to rain out. Yeah. I love the rain. I'm always happy when it rains. A prelude, sorry. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I will give you some personal stories and personal situations in mind, and I'm going to continue to do that with this conclusion of the show, and then I'll conclude it earnestly. My situation with employment in big corporations. I was employed at a casino, a major casino in Lake Tahoe, California. Won't give the name out, obviously. They no longer have that, by the way, exist, so I could probably give the name out. But I may one day want to come back there, so won't do that. I was a dual-rated supervisor. What that is I not only supervised in pits, I also, on other days, would put on the workerman dealer uniform and deal cards. I dealt blackjack. I dealt 3-card poker, Spanish 21, let it ride, and even was a craps dealer for a very short period of time. And so I'm not going to say I was a good craps dealer, so don't look at me like that. I'm not a great craps dealer, but I learned the game. So I think that right there shows to anyone the job I currently have that I'm not an idiot, and I'm definitely having my talents underutilized where I'm currently at. Anyways, I had made probably roughly as a supervisor, I think it was $15.35. Yeah, $15.35 an hour. When I dealt, in California, when you deal for the minimum wage of $5.85. I think it was, maybe even less than that. Maybe the company paid a little more, but $5.85 plus tips was the wages what I dealt. And during the good course, the first maybe 3.5 years of my time there, normally that would mean that when I dealt, I averaged somewhere between $10 and $15 in tips. So I actually made more money when I dealt on some occasions, on many occasions, as a matter of fact, and probably averaged out to around somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 bucks an hour. So I was making pretty good money. Toward the end, making more money as a supervisor, but toward the end I had to give up my supervisor position, become a full-time dealer, and that toward the end was more like 13 bucks an hour, maybe a good week, 17 bucks, 20 bucks an hour on New Year's, things like that. But at my time there, I was used to a salary, needless to say, of roughly 20 bucks an hour. And thanks to the good old President Bush and his tax cuts that helped only the rich, the middle class basically stopped going, couldn't afford vacations anymore. My casino business in Lake Tahoe went downhill rather abruptly, and they closed their pit down and eventually closed the casino down, and I was laid off. So I didn't quit the casino job, I was laid off. Ironically, that's how I got the casino job, by being laid off at a telemarketing company, but that's another story. Anyway, so to continue with the story, so I had no choice, having not wisely saved my money, having believed that I had pretty much had myself set. Any time down the road, I always look down the road and say, a year or so, I'm going to start saving some money before I retire. I didn't have that opportunity, didn't have any money in the bank, and only had one place to go, and it was back to Illinois with my parents, and eventually back to my girlfriend, and living with her. And for 2 years, yes, 2 years, I was unemployed. Not because I was lazy, not because I didn't want to get another job. That's definitely not true. Excuse me. But because I did the right thing. I looked for a job equivalent to the pay I was making. I deserved that, I believe. I didn't lose my job because I was incompetent, didn't leave my job and leave my employer hanging. I was laid off. So and in Illinois, needless to say, the number of $20 an hour jobs out there were minimal at best, and not unavailable to many. So I'd had to just bide my time. Went through several nail-biting periods of time with the Congress, as you didn't realize back then, back in 2008, 2007, or 2008, 2007 area period, where there were battles to deny extensions to my unemployment benefits, but I successfully leaped over every hurdle eventually, though I finally realized that I could not live on the edge, so to speak, any longer, and had to take a job for lesser pay. How much lesser pay do you think I took that job for? A $20 an hour supervisor at a casino. Had to take a retail job for roughly, I think I started at, I want to say $9.85, maybe it was $10.15. It was in that general range, 10 bucks an hour. I took a 50% pay cut to work retail, and not even as a supervisor, as a sales associate. I have been there 6 years, and what do you think my wage is now? $11 and some change. Well, we get paid premium pay on the weekends, so it goes as high as 13 and some change, but again, I am far from the level of where I was at before. This is the reason why we see this, I think, see this economy in a tank, because there's a lot of people in my situation, overqualified, working ridiculous